a little bit about pest biology. I love this part. Very important to know pest biology in order to be a good customer service representative, a good technician, good supervisor, good manager, good salesperson. Very important to know. Now, as we said, what is a pest? Pest is any undesirable organism that can cause injury, economic loss, spread diseases, or be a nuisance to humans. And whenever we're doing an inspection and even control methods, we always have to take in consideration these 4 things. Because these are the 4 things that pests need to survive. Food source, water source, harborage, and a favorable temperature. Mariah, there are rats everywhere. Okay, let's look. Where is the food source? What are they feeding on? From the raw materials. They are near the raw materials. In this case, what are we looking? Food and butterflies feeding on this food. Different pests will have different food source. The food source could be organic matter. It could be fecal matter. Who feeds on fecal matter? Larvae of certain flies. Cockroaches. Blood. Who feeds on blood? Fleas, ticks, right? Bed bugs, mosquitoes. Water source. Water source, remember that any standing water, especially outside or even inside, but outside, if we have a lot of standing water, that is a breeding site for mosquitoes and certain species of flies as well. Inside, if you have standing water, pipes leaking, that's a water source for some flies, ants, cockroaches, even rodents. Harborage, where are they nesting? Where are they living? What are we looking at here? This is a bed, a mattress. And we're looking, these are exoskeletons of bed bugs. And these dark spots here are their droppings, their feces that contain blood. So they get this look. When we are inspecting for bed bugs, you're going to look on the seams of mattress. They only live in mattresses, bed bugs? No. We also have to look in the furniture, the baseboards, frames that are on the walls, equipment in the room, cracks and crevices. They can be anywhere in that area. Especially in cracks, crevices, hidden spots, they of course prefer. Other types of harborage. Old equipments, cracks and crevices for cockroaches, crawling insects, they love those spots. Motors of equipment, because they are warm, so they like to harborage there as well. Warehouses that are not well kept, they also like to harborage between boxes if they're not in shelves properly. And a favorable temperature. One interesting aspect about rodents, when the temperature starts dropping, winter time starts, what do we see? An increase of rodenticide consumption. Why? Because the rodents are trying to get inside of the facilities because it's cold outside. So they're looking for a more favorable temperature. When we're doing treatment for flies during summertime, we will prefer on the yellow zone outside of the building to treat walls where it's shady. There is shade. Why? Temperature is lower than in a sunny area. and they're going to be resting in this cool, more cool area. What is biology? Biology is the study of living organisms. What are the main organisms? So the living beings are divided in 5 kingdoms. Kingdom Monera, the bacteria, our contaminants, right? microbial contaminants. Protista, protozoa, algae, fungi, mold, and yeast. Plantae, the plants, the green algae. What does truly Nolen work with? Mainly animals. Kingdom Animalia. Mariah, wait a second. Is a mosquito an animal? Yes. Is a cockroach an animal? Yes. Let's see, who are the animals? Not the band. Okay, we're talking about pests here. We have sponges, jellyfish, hydrocorals, flatworms, roundworms, segmented worms, the sea stars, but truly Nolen mainly work with these 3 phylum, these 3 groups here. Chordata, so they have a notochord, a brain, and in this group we have the bats, the rats, and the mice, and the birds. Phylum Mollusca, the snails and slugs. Phylum Arthropoda, so the arachnids, the centipedes, the millipedes, and the insects. We're going to see more in details, don't be concerned. Phylum Chordata, we have the birds, so class Aves and class Mammalia. So pigeons, common starling, versus bat, rats, and mice. Mammals have hair, 3 middle ear bones, teeth, and mammary glands. And birds have feathers, waterproof hard-shelled eggs, beak, and wings. A very important part to know about the chordata, they have warm-blooded. They don't depend on the environment temperature to keep their body temperature. And they have an endoskeleton. The skeleton is inside their bodies, just like us, the humans. Phylum Mollusca. So mollusks, they don't have a normal foot. They have a muscular foot that they use to crawl, and they leave a shiny liquid substance when they crawl. That's important to know. Why? Because mollusks can feed on rodenticide baits, and when you open a bait station and you see that shiny substance inside, it's probably due to mollusks. And they feed with this tongue called radula. It's like a file that they use to feed on. So they can also have a mantle for those that have a shell. The mantle produces the shell. A very interesting aspect for mollusca, they are very dependent on humidity. If you drop the humidity water source, you can reduce or even eliminate the population in the area. Phylum Arthropoda. Attention. What does, oh, pardon me. What are the arthropods? The centipedes, so class Chilopoda, class Diplopoda, the millipedes, class Arachnida, the arachnids, and class Insecta, the insects. These are arthropods. Now, what does arthropod? So arthropoda means, poda means feet or legs. Arthro, joint. So it means that they have joint legs with articulation. They move. They have also an exoskeleton. Their skeleton is outside of their body. It's another skeleton. It's like a armor of a soldier, right? Of a fighter. So they have an exoskeleton that's composed by chitin and protein that gives a very strong protection against what? Mechanical damage. Did anybody try to kill a cockroach stepping on it and it continued to walk? Anybody saw a situation like that? Why? Because the exoskeleton protected against this mechanical damage. Okay, they have also body divided into segments. Here, Mariah, what is that? This is a cockroach. Oh, is this an albino cockroach? No. The arthropods, they need to molt, change exoskeleton when they need to grow. So what we're seeing here, look how cute. This is a nymph of a cockroach molting, changing, shedding, changing exoskeleton. This is the old exoskeleton. It came out from the oldest exoskeleton. It's still white, and throughout the hours, the other layers of the exoskeleton will be formed, including the one that gives the color, the pigmentation. The exoskeleton also prevents the arthropods to lose water from their body to the environment. And can you see these spikes here? These spines, they can feel the pressure in the air and the vibration in the environment. So the exoskeleton also provides that. During this phase of molting, the arthropods are more likely to desiccate, to lose water to the environment because they're not fully protected, and they can absorb pesticide quite more easily as well. They also have a dorsal circulatory system and a ventral nervous system. Now, let's talk about our famous occasional invaders, the centipedes and the millipedes. What is the difference between the two? Well, the centipedes, oh, they're scary, huh? Especially because they have venom glands nearby their mouth. They can sting and they have a venom. It's not a lethal one, but it could be lethal for allergic people, young kids, and elderly. When they feel threatened, they might sting you, etc. The millipede, they don't have venom, and when they feel threatened, they roll into a ball. Very interesting. The millipede, they have overall two pairs of legs per segment, so 4 legs, 2 pairs of legs per segment, rounded head, short antennae, the mouth, and the body divided in 2 parts, the trunk and the head. The centipedes also have 2 body parts, 2 segments, so the trunk and the head, but they have longer antennae, 1 pair of legs per segment, and choose the cerci here, which is the looks like a tail, but it's not. Okay, they are considered occasional invaders. Why? Overall, they're living their lives in the green zone. They're happy, content, feeding, but suddenly we have a very, very rainy day. A lot of rain that day, that week. What will happen? Their habitat starts being flooded, and they are going to look for new areas to harborage. And that's common to see during rainy season. These occasional invaders in verandas, around the external perimeter of the building, trying to get in. That's the reason why. We have some baits, also certain types of application for treatment outside for these pests. The idea for your customer is mainly for them what to do. Exclusion, if there are like old materials on the green zone, yellow zone, boxes, piles of wood, that also needs to be organized and raised from the floor because they could be harboring near those areas. Arachnids versus insects. Why is so important to know? Just the same thing? No, it's not. You know that. Of course, we all know. But why? There are certain types of formulation of pesticides that will attach differently to the body of the pest depending on their species, on how they walk, if they crawl. So arachnids, they have 4 pairs of legs. Attention, it's in your evaluation. 4 pairs of legs. The head and thorax are fused, so they're together in what we call cephalothorax. And they have 1 abdomen. So they have 2 body parts, 2 segments, and 8 legs. Insects, on the other hand, have 2 antennae, a head, a thorax, and an abdomen. So they have 3 body parts, 3 segments, and 3 pairs of legs. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. What else can insects have that arachnids don't have? Wings. Wings. So if somebody told you that, oh, I saw a spider flying the other day, it's lying. Okay? That's a lie. This person didn't identify properly. Insects may have wings as well. So let's talk about them a little bit, shall we? Insects have their 3 body segments, the head, the thorax, and the abdomen. What do they have in their head? The song of the day? Despacito. No, they have simple eyes. Ocelli, they are simple eyes. Why simple? Because they only capture the presence or absence of light. So when we turn on the light and you see the cockroaches running, because they are photophobic, they don't like light. And this ocelli will feel the presence of light. Antennae. What are the antennae for? Did anybody see an insect with a nose? Raise your hand if you saw. That's a mutant one because insects don't have nose. How do they feel the smell of things? Through their antennae. And the antennae can also help us identify the species or the type of insect. So how do I know if I have a termite or ant? Look at the antennae. That's a very easy one. The termites have antennae that look like a pearl necklace called moniliform. Now, ants have antennae that look like a elbow. Antennae is ants. Pearl, termites. And sometimes to identify certain species of stored product pests, especially beetles, you can only do sometimes only because one has the clevated type of antennae and the other one captate, and the protocols may vary because of their behavior and biology. So it's very important to know this information. Now, they also have composed eyes that are formed by each one of these is what we call omatidia. Each one of these forms part of the image. So they see like a mosaic. They also see colors. Okay? And attention, very important to know here. Different insects' mouth parts. It's important to know the mouth parts of majority of insects. In your training guide, there is also a specification for all majority of the insects. their mouth parts. Butterfly, sucking, siphoning. They used to get the nectar from trees or from flowers. Lapping, bees. Looks like a tongue. You also get the nectar. Chewing. Who has chewing mouth parts? Beetles, larvae of some species of insects, grasshopper, cockroaches. They have chewing mouth parts. Houseflies, sponging. Houseflies are not capable to digest and to feed on solid foods. They cannot chew it. So how do they do? Very interesting and kind of cool. They regurgitate, so they vomit on top of the food they want to feed on, and that liquid will digest for example, a cake, part of the cake. Then when it's partially digested, the housefly will suck back in and feed on that. During this process of feeding, they are transmitting diseases. It's one way of transmission of diseases. Also when they land on the food or defecate on the food. The cicada or bedbug have the piercing and sucking mouth part. You can look, you can see, it's like a saw to pierce the skin. Now, why is so important to know insect's mouth part? Good example, I have a customer, it's a supermarket, and he has a bag of dried fruits that's sealed, a plastic bag, with only houseflies inside. How these houseflies got in? They got in the supplier when they were bagging them in the factory. So the supermarket received that material already infested, that bag, because houseflies cannot chew the packaging material. Now, I'm looking at a bag, a plastic bag of beans, of rice, and I see beetles inside. Were these beetles bagged in the supplier, or the infestation started in the market? So if you look at the packaging, you will see in a lot of cases when you have beetles, there are openings, holes on the packaging material. So the infestation could have started in your customer facility. There is an infestation existing there. Well, let's talk about the thorax. What do we see in the thorax? The wings and the legs. Knowing that the legs is composed by coxa, trochanter, femur, tibia, and tarsus. And when we do surface treatment, the pesticide will be absorbed by the tarsus of the insect. And different types of insects may have different types of legs. Is the example of fleas. How do fleas get to the host? They jump, because the third pair of legs of fleas, they have a bigger coxa. Wing types. Mariah, what is this? What bug is this? Wow. If they have wings, we know they are, and they have 6 legs, they are insects. Perfect. Based on the type of wings, we can know at least which order they belong. And that helps with the identification. So the beetles, she loves you, yeah, yeah, yeah. No, not these beetles. The beetles pest here. They have elytra, hard wings. The first pair, they're very thick and you cannot see through. Cockroaches, crickets, grasshoppers, they have what we call tegumina, leathery wings. The first pair of wings, it looks like a leather. You cannot see through, okay? But they are thinner than the elytra. Now, And elytra, you can see for who? The kissing bugs. Certain type of elytra, they generally are found outside of the building, feeding on what? Plant sap or other insects. There are certain ones that can also feed on human blood. The cone-nose bug, they can transmit certain diseases as well. So how are their wings? Half will be leathery and half membranous. And you can see this triangle right here and right here for insects of this group. Scaly wing. If you ever touch a butterfly or a moth, you will feel that it seems that they have dust on their wings. In reality, they have what we call scaly wings. So wings with scale. Diptera. So the mosquitoes, the flies, they have 4 wings. No, Mariah, they only have 2. No, they have 4. But the second pair is atrophied, forming what we call outers. They help with the flight, to keep the balance during the flight. And what is this? Mariah, what a huge, humongous mosquito. This is not a mosquito. This is the crane fly, so it's a Chipulidae. They look like mosquitoes, but they are aquatic insects, more found towards lakes, and they don't feed on human blood. It just seems very scary. Hymenoptera, so the wasps, bees, they have membranous wings that looks like membranes. So now you have a base on what to look in order to ID. The abdomen, before we go to the abdomen, what are these black dots here? Sphericals, spiracles. So insects cannot breathe through noses. They have these openings throughout their body where the exchange of air occurs. And in the abdomen, we have majority of the organs and also appendages that also helps us identify. Silverfish. How do I know it's a silverfish? Just look. Yeah, but one of the characteristics is this 3 cerci here. Ephemeroptera, the mayflies, they have 2 or even 3 some species of cerces. Their earwigs also do have them, and they look like this. Cockroaches, they have these appendages. What are the appendages for? Feeling the environment, the air pressure, helping during the mating. Okay, this is a male. How do I know? Because the male is curved, the appendages. The female is straight. Ah, cool. Well, systems and sensory organs. In order to develop our technology on integrated pest management, we need to have very good knowledge on biology and how the insects work in order to know how pesticides will kill them. Correct? And other strategies as well of control. So we're going to talk about the digestive system, the circulatory system, respiratory, nervous, reproduction systems, and sensory organs. What do we see here? This is an insect cut in half. This is the mouth, and the digestive system is divided in foregut, this portion here, midgut, and hindgut. In the foregut, the insect will feed. Here will occur the initial storage and digestion of food. Then it will move to the midgut. The digestions occur in the midgut. You should know that the BT or BTI, the pesticide, that's a bacteria that produces a toxin, that kills larvae of mosquitoes. How do they work? This BTI will break the cells in here, and then the larvae of mosquitoes will not be capable of digesting food anymore. How about the borates that we use for crawling insects? They can act also in the midgut. How? Enlarging, making the cells bigger, and they are not capable to produce the enzymes anymore, so they also die of starvation. And the hindgut is where the water absorption occurs and the feces are formed, of course. The Malpighian tubule works like a kidney, filters the blood. And then the salivary gland. Why is this very important? Especially for mosquitoes. Does anybody know how mosquitoes transmit diseases? Through the bite. Correct, but how? So the female, sorry guys, we're mean, we need blood. So the females of mosquitoes need blood to form the eggs. The males will not feed or feed on a plant sap. So when the female is going to bite somebody, and this somebody is sick, for example, dengue, chikungunya, etc., malaria, the mosquito bites the person and will suck the blood. If this person is sick, it will ingest the blood with the virus or the other pathogen. The virus will migrate to the blood circulation of this pest, and then it will migrate to the salivary gland. The virus will be stored here. So when the females bite another person, and they already have the virus in their salivary gland, what will happen? Before sucking the blood, they inject the saliva, because the saliva has an antihistamine to prevent allergy, and also anticoagulant to keep the blood flowing so they can suck the blood. When they inject the saliva, is how they contaminate the new person. Circulatory system. So, do insects have blood? Yes. And we call hemolymph. Hemolymph. We consider the insect circulatory system open. Attention. Insects have open circulatory system. Why? They don't have veins, they don't have arteries. So what happened? The hearts here will pump the blood to this aorta and fill the hemocell, the internal cavity of the body, like the video right now. So it's pumping the blood and filling out the rest of the body. Pump the blood, fill out the rest of the body with the blood. Okay, why is the blood yellow? Why is not red? Because they don't have the same protein that we do to carry the oxygen that gives this red color of our blood. Respiratory system. So they breathe through spiracles. So the oxygen enters their body, go to the muscle, and then the dioxide carbon will go down. CO2 will go out. Interesting fact, fumigants will enter through here, and essential oils can block the tracheole and make it repellent, so they cannot breathe through these spiracles, and that's why they are repelled by the essential oils, insects, some cases, because they can block these openings here. Nervous system. Why we should be always wearing our personal protective equipment. Attention, because the pesticides we use, majority of them will act in the nervous system of the pest. But here's an interesting fact. Our brain, how the message is passed from one nervous cell to another, so our brain is very similar to insects' brains. So if it affects their brain, it can affect ours as well. So we always are safe wearing the personal protective equipment. So insects have a brain, a nerve cord, and ganglion, a combination of nervous cells here. And the insecticides, the pesticides, can do what? Speed up or slow down the nervous system. How? Okay. How? These are two nervous cells, the cells that we have in our brain. How do they communicate with each other? Do they talk? Hey, lift the antennae. Let's go fly. No, they don't talk to each other. So how that communication works? It's chemically done. They receive these yellow dots here that we call neurotransmitters, which are substances that contain the information, the message. When they receive the neurotransmitter, it will have an electric impulse, and it will pass the information to the other cell. So some pesticides will speed up, and you see the insect like shaking. When? With pyrethrums, pyrethroids, they stimulate the nervous system. So you see the pest shaking. Other pesticides like the fipronil, the phenylpirazole, the neonicotinoids, they slow down. You see the insect slower because they block the passage of message from one cell to the other. Reproduction system, generally sexual. So we need a male and a female to copulate, mate, to produce eggs. We know that some insect growth regulators can act on the female pregnant with eggs and make them not viable, so they can impact egg production, certain insect growth regulators. Sensory organs. Do insects see? Yes. Do they see colors? Yes. They also have the tactile sense. They feel the touch. And why are flies considered the fastest animal on the planet? Look how hairy it is. Very hairy. So these hairs, the sensilla that they have around their body, on top of their body, will feel the difference in the pressure in the air. So before killing them, they fly away. Do insects hear? Yes. A lot of them have tympanums that could be near the thorax, the legs, antennae. And exception to the rule, how do I know if a mosquito is a female or a male? Very easy. Look at the antennae. The female has filiform antennae. The male has plumose antennae. Why? It's just like real life. The female liberates has the smell, the perfume to attract the male, right? Now, the male needs receptors, more receptors to feel that smell. That's why plumose. They feel the smell through the antennae. So plumose antennae to find the female to produce eggs, etc. Gustation. What is taste? What is this fly doing? Look at that. An evil plan to conquer the world? No, it's cleaning its tarsi to feel the taste of food, because insects can not only feel the taste through their mouth parts, but also through their legs. And that's why in a lot of cases we don't want to use pesticides that are repellent, because they will feel the taste by walking on determined surfaces. And we're going to talk that throughout our training this week. Development. So insects have three main types of development: no metamorphosis, ametabolous; incomplete metamorphosis, hemimetabolous; and complete metamorphosis, holometabolous. Mariah, what is that? What is a metamorphosis? Simple, a change of form. Metamorphosis means change of form. And it's very important to know if an insect has no or incomplete metamorphosis or complete. Why? Because when an insect has no metamorphosis or incomplete metamorphosis, the young, the nymph, will live in the same environment as the adult, will feed from the same food source, so the protocol to control nymphs and adults is exactly the same. Now, if I have an insect with complete metamorphosis, the larva is completely different from the adult. That means that the larva lives in a different environment than the adults, feed from different food sources, so my protocol will require to treat for larvae as well. Okay, so let's see. Who does not have metamorphosis? Just look, the silverfish. The young and the adult, they look exactly the same. What changes? The size. They look exactly the same. So from the egg, it hatches the young, also called nymph. And they need to grow. When they grow, they molt. They change exoskeleton until they become adults. So silverfish and springtail have no metamorphosis. Incomplete metamorphosis. So from the egg, it hatches the nymph of first instar, so our first nymph. This nymph will have to grow for what we call second instar, it will molt, until it becomes adult. Now, different species may have more instars, larval instars, than others. Depending on species, also could depend on food source. There is some literature saying that if there is a lot of food source, they may even have extra molting, more instars. But overall, not. What is the difference between the adult and the nymph? Very important. A nymph, if the adult has wings, the nymph will not. That's a very classic example of cockroaches. Cockroaches, the nymph does not have wings, the adult does. Adult has all the organs formed, so they can reproduce. The nymphs cannot. They're bigger, and also you can see changes in the color between the nymph and the adult. Now let's see some examples of incomplete metamorphosis. Which insects? Cockroaches, earwigs, mayflies, bedbug, kissing bug, termites, crickets, grasshopper, book lice. They all have incomplete metamorphosis, meaning the protocol to control nymphs and adults is exactly the same. Now, complete metamorphosis. I have the egg. From the egg, it hatches the larva or caterpillar. It's the same thing, okay? The larva of first instar. Do larvae have exoskeleton? Yes, they do. It's very thin, but it does exist. So they are going to molt for the second instar. They grow a little bit more. Then they molt until they reach the third instar. And then they molt and become what? a pupa. The pupa, just like the butterfly, during this phase, they do not feed, they do not move, and the pupa depends on humidity. If the humidity drops a lot, they may die. From the pupa, and so emerge the adult. Look, the adult, completely different from the larvae. The larva here. Examples of pests that have complete metamorphosis: butterflies and moths, mosquitoes, flies, drain flies, ants, bees, wasps, fleas, beetles. And what is a common mistake? I'm Mariah. My customer has fleas, and he already treated the animal. Is that enough? No. Where are the flea larvae? They're not on the host. They're in the environment. So I have to do a treatment for fleas, the adults on the dog, on the cat, etc. But also I have to do a treatment in the environment to kill the other fleas that are jumping around and the larvae in the environment. Know that a vacuum cleaner can help a lot removing the flea larvae from the environment, especially if your customer has carpet. That's a very good tool to remove these larvae. So today we saw the importance of biology. Biology is important for IPM because based on biology you can determine how to monitor. So where I'm going to place the glue boards, the adhesive boards to do the monitoring for crawling insects. Where do I put them? Anywhere? No. I have to know where the harborage of the crawling insects will be. Near outlets, near cracks and crevices, bathroom and kitchen cabinets, underneath the fridge, underneath oven, near warm places, where they're crawling from the outside, pathways, giving access to the exterior of the building as well. Sanitation and prevention, how to reduce food source, how to reduce harborage, how to reduce water source. Okay, my customer has the example we said, fleas. How did the fleas came in the first place? The dog. Okay, perfect. But how did the dog get infested? Maybe it was walking outside, and outside on the green zone there are squirrels, opossum, other animals that can bring those fleas and infest the animal. So how do I reduce harborage for these fleas? Keep the grass cut, shady areas will be more prone. Okay, now if we talk about flies, I saw once a factory, they had a lot of containers with rest of their production outside. So milk, dairy, inside of these containers, outside, and also on the floors, on the ground, actually soil. When you remove, you dig a little bit on the dirt outside, you could see hundreds and thousands of flies breeding on that dairy that was spilled on the soil. Why? Because we know that flies can lay eggs on organic material, and the organic material was on the soil. So how to do sanitation and prevention? All the extra containers should be cleaned, washed, and brought back in. They cannot be outside and not spill on the floor. That should be washed. So soil cannot be washed. Okay, let's put cement in that area to prevent that from happening, Mr. Customer. Mechanical control. Also with our insect light traps, the T-Rex, the multi-catch trap, the vacuum cleaners to help removing the crawling insect inside, exclusion work. I have a lot of Flying insects that come inside. Why? All windows and doors are kept open day and night. How to prevent that? Exclusion. Let's tell our customer to add meshes, screens on those doors and windows. Pesticide application, where, when, and how. Okay, a good example of when not to use pesticide inside of the facility. If your customer has a high infestation of rodents inside, what do? Do you put rodenticide inside? No. Inside, we're going to trap and remove those rodents to prevent a chemical contamination inside. And I'll give you examples on our last day why we don't do it. And educate customer. Explain to the customer what you did, what needs to be done, and why. Hey, Mr. Customer, we're doing the trapping and removal of those rodents inside. We also need you to do the proper exclusion because they're coming from the outside. And at the outside, we are also doing the control with rodenticide. What needs to be done and why. If you don't do your part of doing the exclusion work, removing all the old containers from the outside and pallets and organizing the warehouse, you will still have harborage for rodents. And in the inside, we can trap them, okay. But what if you receive a box from a supplier infested with mice? The problem will still exist if your storage room is not done organized properly. And outside, if you don't remove those harborages, keeping the grass cut, the extra materials, so boxes, pallets outside, rodents from the neighbor area can still come and harborage there. So education of the customer means I'm passing the information from my brain to the customer brain. They understand what I'm saying. Also, biology is part of the 5 steps of Truly Care. In order to inspect, to look for pest activities, sightings, harborage, access, and food source, you need to understand what do they feed on. Oh, I'm seeing a lot of drain flies. There's a lot of organic material in the kitchen, Mr. Customers. Not only that, we know that drain flies require standing water. So in order to inspect properly, I need to know the biology. Identification. You need to identify the pest before you can treat the area. There are different protocols for different species. Then we can determine the best course of action. You need to know the pest biology and which service protocol to follow. For example, mice and rats. We have difference in protocols between when your customer has a mice infestation or Norway rat and roof rat infestation. Depending on the type of flies we find, if they come from the exterior, if they're breeding inside. Depending on the species, the protocol will be different. So to determine what to do the control and prevention. When we're doing the control and prevention part, always think about this question. What does a pest need to survive? 4 things. What are they? Food, water, harborage, and favorable temperature. And how can you prevent them from accessing that? If you can answer that question, you can solve the pest infestation. It can solve the puzzle. Mariah, there are rats everywhere. Okay, where are they feeding? Oh, okay, there is spilled material on the warehouse, and they're feeding from there. And on the outside, the garbage cans. Okay, found the food source. Where are they harboring? In the sewage. They come and go back to the sewage. Okay. The access, how can we close that access? Exclusion work, right? So, excluding, they cannot come in. And how can you control the pest? So, based on our protocols. Step 5, communication. What have you found? What did you do based on the biology of pest and why? And what should the customer expect based on our protocols? Our customer needs to be informed on how we do our service, okay, and how long it takes to have the control. This is not only for salespeople and technicians, supervisor, managers, for our customer service representative, the admin people that talk to customers over the phone. You need to know the protocols. You need to understand, oh, Mr. Customer, you're seeing cockroaches. Okay, are they dead or alive? Because if they're dead, it means that our protocol is working. Oh, they're not dead. Let me check here. Oh, it's been 2 days that we service your account. Okay, wait another week, because generally it takes 3 to 7 days for the pesticides to start killing those cockroaches, Mr. Customer. I'm actually going to call you back in 1 week, being proactive here, to check if the population dropped. 3-zone protocol. Based on biology, you can determine how to reduce. In the green zone, harborage, food source, and water source. So if you have customers with a lot of vegetation outside, it's always advisable to keep ground maintenance, all the trees well cut, the grass, the ornamental plants, because they can be a resting site for flies, for mosquitoes. They can also be harborage for rodents, the grass for crawling insects especially. And who feeds on crawling insects? Spiders, scorpions. They also will be on that ground on the green zone. So just by ground maintenance, we're preventing rodents, flies, mosquitoes, crawling insects, and arachnids. Simple measures based on biology. Yellow zone, how to inspect and treat potential harborage, food source, access. We're going to talk about the biology, for example, of rodents, and how the size of air, the size where they can pass through. And when we're inspecting, we also will advise customers to do the closing of those spots in the yellow zone. Treating the yellow zone, we can also do a treatment, preventative treatment, frequent treatment outside to prevent pests from coming inside. We also do the monitoring for rodents outside and inside. Now the red zone is where we want to prevent pests to enter. What are the main sensitive areas in the red zone? Take note, it's important. Raw materials, food preparation, food production areas, and packaging areas. In those areas, we want to do prevention of harborage, keeping everything neat, organized on shelves, away from the floors, away from the walls, all the organic material clean, the drains with cover, no standing water, okay? And in the red zone, we also do monitoring. Everything based on biology. Okay, guys? Thank you so much.